What's up, everyone? This is the BumCast, presented by Windy City Sports Cards. I am your host, HBIC, the head bum in charge, along with Baloney, the Southside bum, and Dougie Fresh is somewhere stuck in the middle of Ohio, I think. We don't know.
As I'm not going to make fun of Dougie Freshness for being on the road for 1 billion hours, because I was on the road for 1 billion hours yesterday, and that trek back was no fun for anyone involved. So yeah, I think he just got home like right when we were going live. So he's got a good day off. He earned a good day off. It's his birthday weekend. He was traveling with the family. Happy birthday, Dougie.
Yes. We are back from Pittsburgh, and we got special guest Elijah Evans joining us in a few moments. But first, we got to just jump right in because we had a fantastic weekend with a bunch of White Sox fans. So first, I want to start off by saying shout out to Josh Nelson and Sox Machine for putting together an amazing road trip for us fans to go to Pittsburgh, and also, from the 108 guys for all the work they did, and for us, Barry Horowitz ourselves.
Barry Horowitz for another road trip in the books. Everyone's alive. Our plan was nobody got lost, no one got arrested, everyone made it home okay, and we're 3 for 3 on all of that. I think that's a successful road trip.
Yeah, I am beer and alcohol out though. That was a lot of.
I was on the same boat. I was like, you got to detox after a weekend like that. I got a Gatorade and I got a Liquid Death. The orange flavor is new and it's delicious. But we do have a bourbon that we're trying to push, Jason. We've got an Old Forester available at Green Valley Wine and Spirits. It's a great pick. A couple people had it on the road trip. Everyone loved it. So I'm taking one for the team. I'm having one. This is it. This is the only sip, but I figured we got to push the product. We're trying to sell it. Might as well have some while we talk a little bit of White Sox.
Yeah, and they are currently winning right now. The win streak continues. They're up 6-0 last time I checked. So
Dan Plesac's shirt is going to look like the Brooklyn Brawler by the time he gets back home. It's going to be just dirty and holes everywhere. Shout out Dan Plesac. Maybe he's the lucky charm we needed.
Hey, I'll take that. Just don't. If it it's we do the playoff beards for Blackhawks hockey, so playoff or regular season win streak polos, I'm all for that. Nobody wash your clothes. That's like we're all gonna look like Big Ben from Peanuts gang. Johnny, I just noticed you got the glasses on. I think Missy's in the comments saying, "What's going on with these glasses? You look distinguished, my man."
Thank you. I appreciate it. I want to be just like you.
No. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't?
So, let's talk a little Pittsburgh because it was a great time. That I will say, PNC Park, beautiful views. Look at right there on the river, and I want to give a big shout out to them and a fuck you to Jerry. Because that was the easiest I think I ever got into a ballpark in my life.
Unbelievable. Walked in. You just walk in. Everything in my pockets. I had my watch that, usually I take off at Sox games. You just walk in like nothing happened. Like you're like I'm walking into your house, Jay.
Yeah. That I was thoroughly impressed with that. But just great views, and it was great to see the Sox get a sweep on that. But there was a lot more that went on from baseball, so we got some pictures here.
Off the field action. I want to give a shout out to the Renaissance Hotel. We all stayed there. I got in Thursday night. Jason, you got in Friday. I took a picture of our view from our hotel room. I thought it was a great time. Good bar, good everything at that hotel. But Jason, you had a bone to pick with my view.
Yeah. So obviously you got the premium room, checking in a day early, and you put some bad juju on me. When you were joking with me and said, "I hope you get stuck in the broom closet," that happened.
I was just putting out the energy you were putting out there. You literally said, "If I don't get this room, I'm going to riot." I forgot what you said.
I said, "I'm gonna crash your view."
Yeah, you're like, "I'm gonna bitch." You mentioned something else. And I was like, all right, and then Sarah, your lovely wife, said, "You just jinx yourself." She's like, "Why do you jinx yourself?" And I think you jinx yourself.
No, he got Johnny Drama. Yeah, he wanted the view of the lake and all that stuff, and instead he got the the back view.
Yeah, they stuck me in a super small room, and then the window was a view of a wall of a building.
I didn't even know there was a building next to the other side of the room. I was like, that wall came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
For you.
if you look behind your picture there, you see like the red building on the right, or the red brick building on the right. That's what we saw. It was
Beautiful.
just a wall, and it sucked. But we didn't have to spend much time in there because we started off at Mike's beer house, beer garden, whatever you want to call it. That place was cool. I actually kind of like I love the area that the Pirates and Steelers
Ballpark
fans
Village,
have.
if you win.
Yeah, the Ballpark Village they have over there. Just a lot of good bars, restaurants, and this place was really cool. 80 rotating beer taps, but they also had like the beer book. They had like I think another like 200 beers in cans.
It was just a wall of coolers with every beer you could imagine. It was almost overwhelming.
Yeah. We stopped at so that was me negotiating with Chris McGowan for I was trying to get him to be my casino backer because I didn't do any casino action, unfortunately, but Sarah said I can go to casino as long as I find someone to cover my losses. And
a sugar daddy, if you will.
Yes, I was looking for a sugar daddy this weekend. Did not find any takers though.
He said no right away.
Yeah. Stopping at DeLuca's Diner. Shout out DeLuca's, great breakfast. Did not like the 2-hour wait, but
and you might, people in the comments are like, 2-hour wait for breakfast. What the hell? It was more like 45 minutes, but it was worth it. I was complaining. I was getting hangry. I was turning to Julie like, how good can eggs and hash browns be? It was worth it. So I'll give you credit.
Before you, because you were speaking of hash browns, I've had hash browns in Pennsylvania plenty of times. Is there a difference? Because when I went out there and I had hash browns there, I had it like a couple of times up there, and it tasted so different. They do something with the hash browns that they don't do over here.
I don't know what it is.
And it was fucking great. So I got to ask you guys, and you were shaking your head. Looks like those hash browns were well worth it.
Yeah, they call them home fries. They didn't even call them hash browns, but they were hash browns. Everyone knows them as hash browns. Fantastic, worth the wait. So if you guys get to Pittsburgh again, we plan on going back whenever the Sox play. DeLuca's is the spot.
On Saturday we did the pregame party. So I will talk like Mac Miller later.
We're going to talk. That's a separate segment because Mac Miller blew my mind. Yeah. And we're going to talk about that later.
But yeah, there was already people waiting in line at like 7 in the morning for a Mac Miller bobblehead. But we'll get to that later. But we shout out to John Schifrin. He came by, shook a lot of hands, took a lot of photos with people, and even got tattooed by Maddie Fresh. Maddie Fresh got a shout out on the broadcast. She was the tattoo queen.
Maddie Fresh is a content machine. I've said it multiple times. She's got like our most viral internet video on Instagram and TikTok. And now she's getting shout outs, rightfully so, by John, because she's like, do you want a tattoo? She was tattooing everybody. She had like a whole tattoo. She had like the Kat Von D of like disposable tattoos. And she was tattooing everybody. John's like, no, I got to do TV later. She didn't care. She dragged them to the booth, gave him a tattoo, and then she gave him a shout out. So that was awesome. So it was a great time at McFadden's. Jason, you and I have been there before, but McFadden's was a
much
great
from
spot.
last time we were there, but we were there.
Well, that was a Bears victory. We typically don't remember much of those.
Yeah.
Question.
Yes.
Was anybody asking about me?
Oh yeah, we got a lot of Where's Johnny?
Yeah.
I said you were reading a book.
I was reading a book.
with those glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we got that. We got a lot of Where's Juanito?
Yeah.
So he's holding down the fort at home.
Maddie also did some hustling there on those tattoos.
Yeah, I mean, she's a hustler by nature.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out too to this fancy machine that they have at the ballpark. So, they have like a grab and go station, and instead of like scanning the UPC barcode for each one, you just put your beers on this scale, and like the scanner on top, like detects which actual beer you have. It's the greatest invention I think I've ever seen.
It was crazy,
and it takes the ease out of it while you're, instead of just scanning everything in
Yeah, you just pop them down. They read you your total, and the bums as a collective paid for the first round, and then it was every man for himself after that.
Yeah. All right. So before we get into some Sox, Peter, you on Friday you went to Ghost, and you and Dougie turned one up, man.
What do you mean turned one up? What does that specifically mean?
You guys got drunk.
Oh, we did. I mean, when you hang out with Dougie at a rock concert, there's just things were happening. I thought we were responsibly having a good time, but I think Sam Reeves was hinting at a story. I think I might save that. I'm gonna save the Friday night episode for one of my MVBs. So that's a tease for the end of the show, because I had an episode. It was literally an episode. Roxy, my wife, Mary, and Dougie were all with me. So I'm gonna tell that story at the end of the show. So that's a little tease for later.
Okay. And I also have a story too from Pittsburgh, and that's going to also be at the end of the show for Bums and MVBs, because somebody bummed me tonight, and I have to defend myself on that.
That's fair. That's very fair. All right. Before we get to Elijah, you want to get this super chat out of the way?
Yeah.
From our main man, Gordo.
Gordo, cheers, my man.
Salute, Gordo. You were missed as well. We missed Johnny, obviously. That's the obvious missing, but we always miss Gordo.
Yeah. All right. Before we get to our guest, we're going to play a quick ad from our sponsor. The BumCast is proudly sponsored by Windy City Sports Cards, who specializes in buying and selling all things related to Chicago sports. Whether you are a diehard fan of the Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, White Sox, or Cubs, they have you covered with an extensive selection of sports memorabilia and collectibles. In addition to Chicago-focused items, they also offer a vast selection of sports trading cards and memorabilia from your favorite teams and players. So visit their online store at 312WindyCitySportsCards.com to find exactly what you are looking for to complete your collection or discover a new favorite. All right, time to welcome our very special guest. He is Elijah Evans. He is the head of operations at Just Baseball and also a main contributor for Future Sox. And he's here to talk all things draft and prospects. Elijah Evans, thank you. Welcome to the show. We appreciate you.
What's up, guys? How's it going?
It is going good. We are coming off a high off the road trip, off a sweep for Pittsburgh. Where
I wish I was there. It looked fun.
It was a great time.
Yeah, I think Pittsburgh immediately jumps to the short list of like places I want to go to again. I mean, we've been there a bunch. My wife's a Steelers fan, so we go there for football. Completely different city in the summertime. It's amazing.
Yeah,
I can imagine. That stadium's great. Definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah. So happy to have you on. First time here. We wanted to get you on to talk, White Sox draft and everything. And we talked a little bit last week with Sean W. Anderson, but we know you're the guy who dives into all these prospects, these draft signings. You did a great job on draft on Sunday and Monday last week of just giving out like your hot takes on these guys, and that was great to see. So we wanted to just get your takes right away and just start diving in. What did you think of the Sox going two shortstops in the first 3 rounds?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there was a clear aim here after last year. When you look at the organization as a whole, I think upside hitters was the target here. Right? There was definitely an emphasis put early in the draft on bats that are projectable, and 3 of the first 4 picks being high school draft picks and hitters particularly. Like that's clearly an area the White Sox need to develop and deepen the system in general. So I think these first 2 picks, guys, were basically, from what I've heard, the optimal pick for the White Sox going into the draft, ahead of the draft. Everybody that I've talked to has said like they were kind of looking at Carlson as a guy at the 10th, where it's like if he gets to us, that's a no-brainer. And same thing with Fauske at the 44 spot. So I mean, all things considered, you really can't complain when you come away with your ideal first 2 draft picks, right? And then from there was definitely some money saving to be done. As we heard earlier today, Fauske got almost $1 million over the slot value at that pick, so that was expected because he was getting talks in the late 20s, early 30s of the draft, and he goes 44, right? So you kind of knew he was going to get a lot more money than that slot value. So then you got to save some money later on. There was definitely some picks of some senior signings, some grad signings, some older college guys to save that money. But when you nail your first 2 picks and you get 2 very high upside high school guys, you have to feel pretty good about that overall.
Yeah, it definitely seems like Billy Carson falling to 10th was best case scenario. It's almost like in football terms, you just take the best player available at that point, and his defense is measurably like awesome. Um,
Yeah.
I just listened to your interview with Jaden Fauski today. You did an interview with him. It was about 17 minutes long. I thought that was something that I came away really impressed with him. I knew there's like a skepticism of like, oh, they're taking the local guy. Obviously Jim Thome has a history with them. Like, you're not necessarily sure what to think of it, but by all accounts that interview was awesome. He is such a personable kid for being a high school kid. So like he still sounds like a high school kid, but his answers were really, really interesting. Like, it sounds like he just likes to talk baseball, but not only that, like him saying he likes playing chess and reading books.
Yeah.
He's like not necessarily a gamer. I immediately thought like, oh, he's gonna say Fortnite or Call of Duty like every
Right.
other kid, and he's like, no, I play like competitive chess, and I'm like, holy cow! So that interview turned me a little bit. I'm like, now I was always gonna be rooting for him, but now you just got that little extra. So I was thoroughly impressed with your interview with Jaden.
Sure. I appreciate you listening, first of all, and I thought the same thing. So I'm family friends with the guys over at NAS. I've known them since I grew up playing with the kids of the head coach at NAS. So I've been hearing about Jaden for a couple years now. They've been telling me since he was a freshman in high school, like, keep an eye on this kid. And I always did. I took my tabs. I kept an eye on what he was doing in high school. But it wasn't until last year when I really they started to tell me like, hey, like, this guy's gonna be a really high end draft pick. And I was like, okay, let's dive a little deeper. And then seeing what he did last summer on the summer circuit, I think when you got a guy coming out of Illinois in high school, right? As you guys know, Illinois, you're not playing baseball year round. It's not like these California kids and these Florida kids, right? So it really comes down to how you perform on the summer circuit and how you perform against national competition at these tournaments and at these events. And Fauski was tearing it up last summer. I mean, he was going against the best kids around the country, and he was holding his own, if then some, right? So that was something for him. And Carlson's the same way in terms of the personability. Like, you heard I got some clips from his interview with the media right after he got drafted, and like, both these guys are super personable. They really get it. They have a lot of character to them, which I think is cool. It's cool for the organization to just have two young guys, two young high school prospects that are obviously extremely talented, but also just fun guys to root for, and they make you want to root for them. And that's the coolest thing for me about covering prospects is you get to know these guys, and you get to kind of understand more than just what they do on the field, because these guys are very impressive, and that's great. But obviously you want them to perform, and I do think you got two players that easily could have been gone at their respective draft picks, and you got to feel really good about that.
Yeah, I told these guys last week, I was kind of hoping the Sox went more outfield or corners. I mean, we got Colson and obviously Chase right now, and they're holding their own, but the corner infield seems to be a little question mark right now. Is Miguel gonna be third or first? Is Colson gonna be more on third base, because he's been getting a lot more reps at third base now? Do you see these guys sticking at short? Are they going to potentially change positions? Where do you project them going in the future?
Yeah, so Carlson, from everything I've heard, is not only like the best defensive shortstop in this draft class, he probably is the best defensive shortstop in the White Sox organization, like tomorrow. He is known for the glove. I mean, it's truly, from all the scouts I've talked to, the people I know, like, it seems like he's one of the best high school shortstops defensively that has come out of the draft in the last decade. So he's going to be a shortstop for sure. I expect him to start as shortstop, in Kannapolis next year, and then from there we'll see. But he's going to be a shortstop. For him, it's more the question of how much the consistency with the bat is going to come along. The power upside's good, and there's a lot to dream on there. But he's definitely a shortstop. With Kyle Lodis, who's a third-round pick, so that was kind of the the college bat, the more well-rounded guy. He's kind of a safer floor. He's got a pretty well-rounded skill set, but it's not a shining tool. There's nothing with Lodis that kind of stands out in a huge way, but he's got on. No, not Jacob Amaya. Carlson is so much better than Jacob Amaya. Don't give me that. But Kyle,
I'm gonna just
Kyle
start
Lodis
hiding his
is
comments.
yeah, right. Kyle Lodis is the interesting one, because he is someone that it seems like he can move around a lot. He played shortstop obviously at the college level, but it does seem like he could be a solid shortstop, but he could also be kind of more of a third baseman. He could shift to second base. From everything, it seems like he has an arm enough to stick at third if you were to go that direction. He's got enough mobility to go to second. He's definitely going to be an infielder, but I think he's the type of guy who you could see kind of adjusting as time goes on. And then with Fauske and Landon Hodge, the two other high school prep guys, Fauske being a guy who shifted to the outfield, it's been pretty clear from everybody that he's going to be an outfielder, not a catcher. He played catcher earlier in high school, but he's going to be an outfielder. He was playing center field all this past year at school, and it seems like he held his own in center field. But whether it's center or if it shifts to a corner, he's definitely going to be an outfield guy. And then Landon Hodge, it seems like the goal is to develop him as a catcher for sure. He's definitely going to get a crack for a long time at being a catcher. It seems like he's going to be capable of sticking at catcher. If he doesn't, though, that's the type of guy who could be a first, third base option for sure if it goes that direction. But I do think they're going to give him at least a couple years behind the plate. So
Jaden Fauske, center field, potential Lubob replacement then.
A couple years away for sure. So you got a little bit of time there, but I mean, you will see what happens. I think he's a big frame. He's a big dude. Like, he can move. He has the athleticism to stick in center. Does he ultimately, as he grows and fills out, have the speed? That's kind of more of the question. Like, I think the arm and the athletic instincts can definitely last in center. He was a safety and a receiver in high school when he was playing football. Yeah. So he was talking to me about how he's got that kind of instinctual. He loves going to get the ball when he's out there in center. And that's something that I think will bode well for him. If he fills out and gets a lot stronger and the power really comes in, then you can shift him to a corner and he'll be very good in a corner, but I do think he'll have a shot to stick in center.
Yeah, I think that's what stood out, again, going back to the interview, is something like, his athleticism is there, but listening that he's played catcher and kind of all over the place, and he played a little bit of right field, left field, and he's only really played center field for a full year. It might be early to be like, he's going to be Luis's replacement. But what I do like is, like you mentioned, the athleticism is there. And if it sounds like, I mean, he's hitting the weight room. He mentioned that, there's a possibility that the White Sox, for the longest time, I mean, they haven't had a right fielder for a decade plus. So even if he doesn't pan out at center, you could pop him in at one of the corners, and I think we're okay.
Yeah, for a team with minimal excitement in the outfield, I think it's fair to say right now, and just in the past handful of years in general, between Braden Montgomery and now a guy like Fauske and some other pieces in the system, like, they're at least addressing that slowly but surely. It's taking some time for sure, but I think there's a handful of guys you can look at as potential long-term outfielders for a team that, as you guys know well, there hasn't been a consistently strong three-man outfield in Chicago in quite some time. So there definitely is a good amount of guys in the system, with Fauske being the next one up.
Yeah. So just to transition just a tad here. So we as you mentioned, what Jaden Fauske, like, getting the overslot on that. And so I saw some of the mid-round guys have signed for slot. Have you heard anything about any of the other top rounds getting signed? Billy Carlson probably getting under slot, I would assume, at that point.
Yeah, it's interesting with the top of this draft this year, with the slots being as high as they are in this draft class in general, being a weaker one compared to some years. Pretty much everybody early in the draft is getting under slot, other than I think Ethan Holiday is the one who's going to get a ton of money because the Rockies are going to ball out on him. But other than that, it seems like a lot of guys are going to go under. So I think from what I've heard, Carlson's going to be under. He's not going to be a huge under, but he's definitely going to be a little under. And then from there, like I said, Fauske's way over. I think Lodis will be about at slot. And Hodge is the other one that's going to be way over slot because he's an LSU commit. He's a catcher, right? Like, it's not that he's necessarily, his ranking was in that 4th to 5th round range, but being a prep guy, having an LSU commitment on his name, like, to get a guy like that, you're going to have to overslot him. Yeah. He's going to be an overslot guy. He'll be over $1 million probably. So I think the slot's in around the 800, 900 range for him. Slot value is 722 actually for him, and he's going to get $1 million plus for sure. So that's going to be the other guy that goes, noticeably over slot. From there, I think pretty much everybody else will be at or under. The other over is probably Matthew Boughton, who's the last high school guy. Interesting pick here, because he's a 19-year-old going on 20-year-old high schooler, which is pretty unique. Because
I got a couple cousins like that.
So he's behind a year in terms of high school guys, which usually brings down draft stock. And part of that is he has an A&M commitment. So, it's not an easy thing to pull a guy from an A&M commitment, even at his age, because what he could have done with college is he could have gone to college and then he would have been a draft eligible sophomore. So he would have ended up getting drafted at the same age as most juniors, just as a sophomore. So to be able to pull a guy from a commitment like that, given that the slot for that 11th through 20th are all 150K, he's probably going to be the last guy that gets noticeably over, because as much as he's a little bit older for a high school guy, clearly the White Sox, from everything we've heard, really identified something they liked with him. So to be able to pull him from a Texas A&M commitment, he's probably going to get a decent chunk over slot. So I think Hodge and Boughton, typical, that the high school guys are going to be the ones that get the significant over slot money there.
Yep. Were you shocked at all that that they waited to take a pitcher with their 5th round pick. Because I mean, typically like Sox have been like very pitcher heavy in the beginning of the draft, and to see them go heavy position right off the gate, very, just opposite of what they've always done. So what do you think about their Chris Getz's strategy this year?
It was needed, man. I think that's what it comes down to, and that's what's tricky is like people say you don't draft for fit, and you don't draft for fit by pick, but in terms of a strategic outlook on a whole draft, you do have to look at your organization and see where the depth is. And like, there's just so many more pitchers in this system right now than there is hitters in terms of guys you're looking at as legit MLB guys. 2 guys I've been harping on all year. 2 of the biggest breakouts in the system this year have been, Tanner McDougal and Christian Opper, 2 guys who really have taken a huge step forward on the pitching side. So now you've got already, the system with Hagen, with Schultz, with all these other big names. And then you've got your 2 breakout prospects of the year also being pitchers. Like, I think when they kind of approached this draft, they were able to see, hey, we need a lot more depth on the offensive side, and especially the high upside offensive pieces, because there's a lot of guys in the system who could be, a depth piece offensively, but there's pretty few guys, in all honesty, prior to this draft who you can look at and say, oh, that's an upside offensive piece in the system. So I think that was very clearly the priority early on, as you can tell with those first 4 picks. And then from there, it was a lot of college arms, it was a lot of depth guys, it was a lot of guys who can be, quick moving bullpen guys. Like, I think Gabe Davis is going to get a chance to start. He's the 5th rounder, but like, if he doesn't work out as a starter, you've got a 6'9" right-hander who could absolutely fly through the system as a reliever. So that's an interesting dynamic there, where I think they just have an identity of what they're looking for and what they were planning to do. And then with the pitching side, you fill out the rest of the draft with a lot of experienced pitchers, a lot of guys you can tweak with, some funky arms, some guys that can move as relievers. But you knew going into this draft that you had to target some hitting upside guys early and often.
Yeah. All right. So going into the draft, I want to add this back here real quick. Of these rounds, like, who are you looking at? It's like maybe like a sleeper pick that, or someone we should be keeping our eye on coming up through the system, and potentially those mid to late rounds.
Yeah, so I mentioned Matthew Botton earlier. I think that's the one where, having a high school guy in the later rounds, you're always going to be overpaying for that. So there's always clearly, an identity to one of those high school guys that you're going to get late. So I think Botton's one that's going to be worth keeping a close eye on. Another guy who I think it seems like can play legit shortstop, and if not, I think he has the size and strength to shift over to third. So definitely a guy to keep an eye on there. It's a lot of college guys late for sure. It's a lot of experienced college guys. Rylan Galvin is an interesting one, a catcher from Texas, an experienced SEC guy. His EVs are crazy, like 116 mile an hour exit velocities for him. He's a really strong dude, but whiffs a ton. So there's some trade-off there, of course, but a little bit more of a fun upside college guy. Some of the other arms in the backgrounds, I like Max Banks. He was the 14th rounder out of Washington. Another senior signing, but I do think he can move pretty quickly as a reliever. If a lot of these pitchers end up being relievers, it gives some room. And then the last pick in the draft, I actually was a big fan of, and I know that one of the area scouts has raved about him. Andrew Sentlinger out of Virginia Tech is an interesting arm there who has a really unique fastball, one of the best fastballs you're going to see. A lot of movement on it, a lot of ride on it, and from a 20th rounder out of college, right, and a signing there, like you're hoping if you can get a good fastball reliever that you can move to the system quickly, that's about all you can hope from a 20th rounder for sure.
I dig it. You mentioned a couple people, surprise coming out of the farm system. I mean, we know Hagen Smith, we know the North Schultz, we know the Braden Montgomerys of the world. Besides those 2 guys, is there anyone else that we should be looking up for? Maybe not a September call up, but maybe next year, coming out of spring training that will surprise us.
Yeah, I mentioned him already, but Tanner McDougal has been ridiculous this season. He's been the best pitcher in the farm system this year, and it hasn't been particularly close. He was a high school pick in the 5th round in 2021 after that COVID year, and that draft was such a mess. I think people didn't even really know what they were doing in that draft, and it was kind of like throwing darts at talent and hoping it worked out. And for Tanner, it's taken a long time. He has had some ups and downs. Last year, he's in Winston. He got demoted to Kannapolis last season and just could not find the zone. The command was never there. He just was not himself for the last year or 2. He was coming off a TJ. He came back in 2023. It's been a crazy path for him. And this season, he's sitting 99 with the fastball. He's got one of the better curveballs you'll see, and he is running through the minor leagues. He was dominating Winston. He gets to Birmingham. He's been even better in Birmingham since getting there to AA. And it wouldn't shock me if he got called up in September. And if not not September, definitely early next season. It's a guy who's Rule 5 eligible in the offseason, so the White Sox are going to have to put him on the 40-man in the offseason anyways. So I wouldn't be shocked to see him get a taste of the bigs in September, and if not September, he's going to be competing for a job with this team in the spring because he has been absurdly good this year, which has been cool to watch because he's a great dude. I just did another interview with him a couple weeks ago, so you can check out a little more from him on that.
Yeah, I'm looking at his stats right now. 0.89 ERA and a 0.89 WHIP. 38 strikeouts to only 8 walks.
I like that.
It has been ridiculous. This is a guy who never used to throw strikes. I mean, his stuff has always been very good, but he's ticked up 3 mile an hour in velocity while making his command, an entire different tier from what it used to be. So a guy that, has always had good stuff, but seeing him not only tick up in velocity, but then have his command be, his walk rate's half of what it was last season. It's really exciting. He, is someone who it's really easy to not give up, but to lose hope in high school guys when you see their first couple seasons. But you got to remember when these guys come in the system and they're 18 years old, like they're 3 years behind most of their competition or 4 years behind most of their competition. And this is a guy where it's just taken some time for him to really click, and it has just all clicked for him this year. He's going to be competing for a rotation spot at some point next year. He's been that good.
Yeah. So I've been doing like a weekly, quick farm report every week. Yeah. Obviously not in the same level that you do. It's I just give him the hot take stat line and
Jason, show the video so he can see it.
Yeah, show the video.
Show the video. You got to show the video.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with this. I'm curious. I'm sure it's great. That's awesome. That's good stuff.
Through the roof. Jason, have you been holding on Tanner McDougal?
You know what? This is why I'm happy, talking with Elijah, because, it was someone that was, for me, was under the radar. He's not one of the big flashy names that, are coming through. So like finding out these new guys that are, just dominating, and could potentially be fast risers, we'll just give them the hashtag promote. So yeah, let's stick on Birmingham for a minute here, because obviously, like, everybody was focusing on Noah and Hagen throughout the season. Now Noah up at Charlotte. Hagen had the time off with the arm and fatigue, injury, whatever you want to refer it as. Grant Taylor, straight from Birmingham, he's fucking kicking ass. But who else down there in Birmingham, maybe besides Tanner McDougal, on the hitting side, is someone that we should be watching coming up from Birmingham?
Yeah, someone else just got to Birmingham about a week ago, and I broke that because I heard from him from another guy in the org that he was heading there. Sam Antonacci was a 5th rounder last year in the organization, a Coastal Carolina guy. He has been my favorite hitting prospect to track over the past season since they drafted him. Coming out of the draft, he was one of the I think he was second in all of college baseball last season in batting average, and that's a somewhat misleading thing sometimes. I'm not a big batting average guy in general, but like, he's just the guy that gets on base all the time. He has an incredibly sophisticated approach, and is just someone who just works at bats. He takes his walks. He hits his line drives. Not a guy you're going to see a ton of juice from, but he just gets on base with the best of them. He's got an on-base percentage in the 400 range this season. He is just such a machine of just working at bats, working pitches, and just getting on base all the time. He's been on base, on-base percentage of 437 this season. Pretty ridiculous stuff from him, and that's between high A and double A now. He just got to Birmingham this week. So Antonacci is one of my favorite prospects in the system. He's walked more than he struck out this season. For a minor leaguer, that's, it's a simplistic idea, but like very rare to find a minor league prospect at, 22 years old who's walking more than they're striking out at that level. He is just an on-base machine, and he's playing a little bit of everything too. He's drafted as a shortstop, but has played a little bit more third, has played some second, probably not a shortstop long-term, which is not a bad thing considering, as we've talked about, like there's 3 or 4 guys now in the system that are playing a good shortstop. So Antonacci's probably more of a second and or third baseman moving forward, but he is also going to make, I think it's not as quite as soon as McDougal probably, because he just got to double A and he's still, only this is his first professional season and he's already in double A. So wow, very impressive. But at the same time, like it's definitely not this year, but mid to late next season, I would not be surprised at all to see Antonacci push for Chicago, just because he's one of those guys. And we've seen this a little bit with some guys this year more than in past years. And I think the White Sox are really enjoying finding some guys that just get on base, that work counts better, that take a good, patient approaches. Antonacci also steals a ton of bags. Once he gets on base, he takes a walk and then he steals second. So it's a really fun archetype with him where, he's 4 homers all season. He's not going to drive a ton of power, but it's, I think it's I don't want to put this quite of a comparison on him, but I think it's Mydroth with a little bit more excitement.
I thought you were gonna say Madrigal real quick. I was like,
No, I'm not doing the Madrigal thing, but I'm not doing Madrigal. But
You're going to almost get Jason a heart attack here for a second. Just came back from a lot of drinking.
I heard the M was coming out, and I was like, oh no.
All right, I like this. McDougal, Antonacci, Jason, Farm Report, put a pin in those guys.
I put those guys.
Those sounds like baseball. Those sounds like baseball names right there.
They do,
They are
right?
good baseball names for sure.
Good baseball names.
Those are good baseball names.
You know, Elijah, you did point something out about how the Sox are bringing up a lot of the prospects and just kind of seeing how if anything sticks. I mean, you've seen like Mydreth, come up and he's doing really well in the majors as well too. Do you see like any of these like prospects that the draft picks that we got that will come up a lot quicker than, it won't take them that long to come up?
Yeah, it's interesting. This is definitely a little bit more of a long game draft, I would say, because of those three, your three premium picks being high school guys. Those guys are going to be a long ways away. And then a lot of the college guys, it would have to be some of the arms, I would think. It would probably be a couple of these, these later, older, experienced college guys because you can move them into a bullpen role. I think anybody who's going to be a legit starter is going to take some time in this draft class. But I do think a number of these college reliever types, whether it's like a Max Banks or a Caleb Freeman, there's a couple of these other later round picks. And then Gabe Davis is a potential one. But I think that, some of those pitchers could move quick. But I don't see any, of the impact guys in this draft being particularly quick movers.
Wow.
Which is part of, I know people don't love it, but I think that is part of that is I think the organization recognizing that, like, yes, there's been some positive steps this year and we love to see that. This team is still a ways away. Like, this is not a 2026 contender by any means, right? And I think they know that. And one thing I appreciate a lot about Chris Getz is that he doesn't seem to have a false sense of hope in some ways that prior, organization members did, in my opinion. And I do think that there is, obviously you want to portray to your fans that you're trying to compete, of course, but there's this back and forth of like, yes, you want to be good, and you also have to be realistic about your timeline and know that like you can wait a couple years for some of these high school guys to really develop and get to the point where they can help you, right? So if it is 2028, 2029 when these guys become an impact player, that's probably closer to when this team is competing as opposed to, rushing a college guy up from the draft in 1 year.
Like
right?
Andrew Vaughn.
I was about to make the Andrew Vaughn comparison and hoping to be maybe the White Sox are going to be more pragmatic, knowing that they learned their lesson with the early Andrew Vaughn call.
And that was a tricky
which
one.
Is okay.
The COVID year messed up everything
right
that year, so that was tough. Yeah. But yeah.
All right. I want to transition to some Charlotte talk for a little bit. And the first question I have for you is, we got the trade deadline coming up. There's a lot of talk about Hauser being moved, maybe Savale. Who in Charlotte right now, outside of SP5, is someone that could come into the rotation and eat up innings for the rest of the year?
Yeah, there's a number of guys that could at least get some reps this year. Henry Gomez is one who has been really sneaky good in Charlotte. Not a guy that was a White Sox farmhand by any mean. He came throughout I forgot what system. I think he's a Dodgers guy and then got DFA'd earlier this year. He was a Yankees guy and then a Dodgers guy coming up through a Venezuelan guy. And he's been really good in Charlotte. He's 25 years old. He's not actually he seems like he's a veteran because he's been on multiple organizations already. But 25 years old and has only gotten a couple innings here and there in the bigs. I think Gomez is one who will get a shot to eat some innings. And I think you're going to get to see a lot of fun guys. It might not be the rotation guys, but in terms of relievers, there's a lot of fun prospects there. Jairo Iriarte, we saw for a brief cameo last year, but he's a guy who was, at a time a high pedigree prospect. Didn't work as a starter. You could tell it just wasn't happening in a starting role. Has been very good out of the bullpen the past month or two in Charlotte, which is fun to see. So I think Iriarte getting added to that bullpen mix could happen for sure. Peyton Pallette is another pretty high-end prospect who's transitioned into being a reliever, but has been a lot better as a reliever since he moved out of starting. So those are two pretty decently high pedigree prospects there who I think could slide into the bullpen. The White Sox bullpen is sneaky fun. Is that fair? I think that's
I would say
fair.
Better than when it started.
Interesting.
Better than when it started. It's at least
they had a glow up.
That's
Up
what I'm saying. It's
palatable.
definitely better. Obviously, Grant Taylor, I know he's had his ups and downs, but Grant Taylor, if you watch him pitch, you can realize how ridiculously good he is. He's going to be a stud back there. I think there's some other guys that have been definitely much improved, and I think an Iriarte and a Paulette definitely will make that a even better, bullpen potentially down the stretch here, where I think that the White Sox are in a position, and the pitching's already been better this season as a whole. They're in a position where you give some guys some innings here down the stretch, and like once you get next year and you're looking towards a Noah and a Hagan and then Tanner McDougal and then in addition to some of these bullpen guys, Addison Coffey's another one who's been really solid out of the bullpen all season in Charlotte. There's a lot of pitching in the upper levels of the minors and even in the bigs already, where this pitching staff, like I've been on record saying, I think this pitching staff is league average next year. I honestly do, and maybe even slightly above that. I think there's a real chance the White Sox, and I know that's league average sounds so depressing.
Yeah, it does, but
it's
when you're at the bottom,
but for when you're the 29th team in baseball, like if you're a league average or better pitching staff, you're in a pretty good place. And there's still some efforts that need to be done on the hitting side, but you've got some other guys coming for sure. And I do think that the pitching is in a pretty good place all overall.
Yeah, we lost over 120 something games.
Yeah,
I love here. I love the average here. Yeah,
league average is good. Yeah,
you can go up. Yes.
Any concern with Noah Schultz just kind of like struggling in Charlotte right now? Is it just arm fatigue or is it just the part
baseball.
Ups and downs? Yeah, new baseball's part of it for sure. I think it seems like that's a big adjustment in general. Like the Birmingham to Charlotte transition for pitchers, and that's why we've seen them skip over Thorpe. That's why we saw them skip over Grant Taylor. It's a tough one. I think that with Noah, they've been trying to kind of tweak his arsenal, tweak the way he attacks batters all season. So working through adjustments as a 21-year-old and then adjusting to a level that's significantly harder to pitch at. The elevation is high there. The ball gets out really quickly in Charlotte. It's a tough transition. I'm not putting too much stock in it. I think for him, just continuing to build up those innings, get his reps under his belt, get his arm healthy, and just maintain that health. This is a guy who barely pitched in 2022 and 2023 since getting drafted, and last year was his first season really getting a real season under his belt. So it's his second full season. I think that's a hard kind of transition. So I'm not too worried about it. I think we'll see what happens, obviously. And I think the idea of him being up this year now is probably mostly out the window. I mean, I think that coming into the year was like, oh, if he shoves in Birmingham, then he can be up in August after the deadline. That's not going to happen. He might get a couple innings in September just as like a fun little debut, but generally speaking, the whole aim right now and what I've heard from everybody is that like get these guys ready for 2026 in terms of the top end guys. In terms of the middle end guys, the lower end guys, sure, you can give them a taste this year. In terms of your top end guys like Noah, like Hagan, it's all about next season at this point.
Yeah. I was when I was talking with the Farm Report like earlier in the year, I was kind of saying like, oh yeah, Noah, he's doing good. If he dominates in Charlotte, maybe you see end of September, get him some taste.
Right.
With him going on the IL right now, I don't know how realistic that is. If they're just gonna shut him down at the end of the AAA season, and have him focus for next year. But it kind of sucked to see him like just come up and struggle, right? But I'm like, get it out of the way now. Struggle now and
Exactly.
learn and then be ready for next season. On the hitting side for Charlotte, are we ever going to see Corey Jokes called up? Because he's been having a great season in AAA.
I'm good personally. I mean,
yes,
maybe.
Thank you.
I'm okay with that. I think that there's a time and place for letting veteran guys see what they can do, and that has happened and worked really well in some cases. You're gonna get a very legit prospect for Mike Tauchman, which is crazy. But the Jokes of the worlds, the Jacob Amayas of the worlds, I'm okay there.
Okay. Just a couple guys. Just want to spitball at you. Tristan Gray, is he ever gonna turn anything, or is he just Charlotte
Similar
guy?
tier, I would say. Probably more of a quad A guy. I mean, he's 29 years old and has minimal experience at the big league level, right? He's been in AAA for 4 seasons straight now, so pretty unlikely, I would say. He might get a couple of bats later in the season to see what happens, but not expecting much there, yeah.
And then Brian Ramos.
Ramos is a guy that I loved when he was coming up the system. I was definitely very high on Ramos in his earlier years in the system. I think that with him, it just has been a consistent battle of like brief injury, struggles to get the power back, getting a little too eager at the plate, not really refining the approach. So Ramos is, I definitely 23 years old, right? This guy's super young still. I mean, he turned 23 this season. He was up last year. You saw a taste of it, right? He's been in Charlotte this year. He's been on and off the IL. Has been much better of late. I do think Ramos is someone that I think should get a shot at some point. The tricky thing is that the White Sox infield is getting sneaky crowded all of a sudden. So it's kind of, with Colson up now and with them committing, once you call a guy like Colson up, you're not, that's one you're committing to. You're not really going to shuffle him back and forth, hopefully, at least, I would hope. But Ramos, in July, Ramos has got an OPS over 800. He's been much better of late than he was earlier in the season. Now he seems like he's fully healthy again. So curious to see what they do there. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Ramos start working in at first a little bit. I would actually be happy to see him work at first a little because he does have the size and ability and athleticism there. I just think he hasn't taken a ton of reps there. But I wouldn't mind seeing some Ramos at first just to give him some innings potentially down the season.
I like the sound of that. And I've been a guy, Jason, I keep saying, like, don't move players out of their position because the White Sox are famously just playing people out of their position. But a Brian Ramos at first, that's something I would like to see.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. I love, as a person, love Tim Elko, but I'm not a super, Tim Elko person in terms of the projectability.
We were
Lenine
alcoholics
Sosa's,
and now we've gone sober.
Everyone was an Elko wave for sure, and I think it was a common excitement name, and he's a great dude and a very good character, so I think that's part of why people fall into it. But unfortunately, running the whiff rate that he and the chase rates that he runs is just at the big league level. It's pretty hard to succeed that way. I hope he can kind of steer the ship, and then Lenine Sosa is not a first baseman. That's been very clear from watching him play some first. Yeah. And Vargas plays a good first, honestly, but I think the real maximization of value there is to get Vargas at third and have Colson being more of a short and Maidorff more at second, right? So that kind of is how they sort that out is going to be interesting. I think one of the really cool aspects of that is, like, regardless of, if Ramos takes a step, that'd be awesome. Regardless of all of that, you've got a fun situation in the offseason because they got no money on the books. I know people don't think they're going to ever spend money, but, like, they're going to spend a little this offseason. I really do believe that, and I think that you're going to have some money, especially if you trade Luis, the only contract over $3 million on the entire roster has been intended, right? So, like, it's crazy. There's no money on the books. I mean, this whole roster is made up of rookies and second-year guys.
Jerry's not happy right now.
I know, right? But hopefully with the HBO money kind of funneling in a little bit, we'll see what happens. But, I do think you're in a cool situation where you have the flexibility to attack free agency with getting a hitter, not really having to consider position as much. Obviously, it's a factor, but, like, when you have the flexibility of Maidorff and Colson and Vargas, who all play different positions in the infield and can shift if needed all over the diamond, you got a lot of options, right? If you have a shortstop on the market that you really think is a piece, right? If you really want to go after, a Bo Bichette or somebody of that kind of lineage, right? You can have a shortstop you bring in. Colson can play a very solid third. Maidorff can play second. Vargas can slot to first. You want to get a big first baseman bat, and you just want to say, screw it, let's just get a veteran masher at first base. Okay, you've got Vargas at third, Colson at short, and Maidorff at second, right? So it's a cool spot to be in. And then with Ramos too, you'll see what you get from Ramos. You'll see what you get from Sosa, right? So it's an interesting spot. And I think that the infield in comparison to the outfield is in a pretty decent spot overall. And then you've got Caro and Teal, who I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I just, the day that they both just start playing every day will be the day that I've been
ranting about it every week that Vargas or Venable needs to find a way. And Peter's saying calling up Corey Lee if you have to, but I'm like, you can do a double switch. I don't know if he realizes that too, but I mean, it's like get their bats in the lineup every day. I don't know why it's so difficult.
I mean, these are two, like, borderline top 50 prospects in baseball who both at times have shown flashes, and their numbers might not be excellent, but, like, these two are very legit pieces of the future, and you committed, like, when you traded for Crochet and you ultimately made Teal one of the centerpieces of that deal, you committed to the fact that you're going to have two very good catchers at the big league level and two very exciting young catchers. You got to find a way to get him in the lineup. It doesn't need to be every single day, but if you're playing, in a given 7-day basis, they both need to be playing 6 of those 7 days and mixing in a DH and catching, right? So if it means Corey Lee's wasting a bench spot, fine. I don't care. Corey Lee can wage a bench spot. Right? There's not anybody on the bench that's, supremely valuable right now, beyond one or, anybody. So that's an interesting aspect of it all. But I think that as going into next season, like, you just have to let those two play. They're just both too talented to be sitting half the games right now. And I think especially this season when it's already a lost season, right?
Do you think there's any more movement in the Kyle Teal taking reps at first base? We saw a little bit in Charlotte. Is that something the Sox are going to tinker with in the offseason?
It's possible for sure. I think it is more of an offseason thing. Yeah, I think that they wanted to get these guys both just comfortable catching at the big league level, and that is something that I think is a lot harder than people may realize. Like that is, there's a reason catching is like just so clearly the hardest defensive position in baseball. There's so much that goes into it for these guys, especially being that young. So I do think it's possible. I wouldn't mind seeing Teal at first. I also think Teal played some outfield in college, so I wouldn't be shocked to see him mix in as a corner outfield option next year. Whatever it is, though, like if he needs to DH, he needs to DH. I don't really care. Like both those guys. Like it's just there's no you're not a team that has a DH. You don't have a Kyle Schwarber, you don't have a Shohei Ohtani. Like this team does not have a DH penciled in who can only DH, right? There's nobody that is deserving of at bats at DH more than those two are. And I mean those guys are two guys that I'm very high on in general in terms of their long-term ability. And yeah, they might not be the most, powerful hitters ever, which is like the DH mode, but like who on the White Sox is a powerful DH that you're keeping those at bats for? There's not anybody, right?
No. I was gonna. Couple more quick questions before I let you go here.
Yeah.
Who do you like? Speaking of the catching between Carroll and Teal, who do you like better behind the plate?
It's tough because coming up, I would have said Caro for sure. I think last year Caro was in a better place defensively, and I think Teal has kind of closed that gap. With Caro, the arm is plus. Like there's been a couple throws. I mean, it might not have showed quite as much at the big league level yet, but in the minors last year, like he was gunning guys. There was a lot of times where his steal rates were excellent. He was really nailing guys on the bases. But for him, the framing has graded out a little bit poorly so far. He definitely seems like he's had a hard time with framing. The funny thing with those catchers is like we evaluate framing, and the baseball analytics community really values framing for catchers, and it might not matter at all in 2 years from now, in a year or two from now, right when the next CBA comes in and potentially the robot strike zones come in.
Yeah.
Like that's not going to matter, right? So that's such an important aspect of catching, and you look at that and you're like, oh, Teal has him beat a little bit right now in the framing side of things, but that may not matter soon. So they're pretty equal with different strengths and weaknesses, but I'd say they're both still kind of a half step below an average catcher defensively, probably. But again, 22 and 23 years old, like there's time here, and they're not. Neither of them is a complete liability. I think that would be unfair to say to either of them. Like there's some catching prospects that come up and are a complete liability. I don't think either of them fall in that bucket. I think they've had their struggles, and I think particularly Caro has had some struggles so far. But I do think they're both going to be at least average level catchers as they kind of develop here.
Yeah, a lot was said about the framing, and you guys, or they got to remember he's the youngest catcher in the major leagues right now.
Yeah,
the other thing was like there's still been highs on both of them where we talked about it, the extra inning games where Kyle Teal was getting shook off by it was a multiple times he's getting shook off. Yeah, but they both seem to be calling good game, and we didn't expect this starting pitching to be as good as it's been this season. And obviously credit to them, but I also want to give credit a little bit to Kyle Teal and Edgar Caro, because I thought, especially when Caro first got up, I thought like his rapport with the pitchers has been pretty good. Obviously, with the framing taken out of it.
Yeah, I think they both have good rapport, and that's the cool thing about where this organization is at. Is that when I'm talking to Caro, like last year, I was in Charlotte for a while last year, and I talked to Caro for a while, and like. The really fun atmosphere of this team and where this team's going is like these pitchers have worked with these guys, right? Like Teal less because he just got traded, but like Caro's been coming up through the system with your Noah Schultzes, with your Sean Burks, with Davis Martin last year in Charlotte. Like they've had this rapport now for a couple years since Caro came over to the organization. So I think that's a really cool atmosphere, and I think something that Caro's told me, like I had him on I talked to him a few months ago on an interview, and like he was telling me how like he keeps practicing his English because he's a guy who like he feels pretty good with his English. But like his first priority when he came stateside when he was 19 years old was like, if I'm going to be catching at the big level, I got to speak English to these guys. I got to be able to communicate with them. And like, that is something that I think goes under the radar for the hard difficulty of being, a non-native English speaking guy who's trying to communicate game in and game out with all these pitchers who most of them speak English primarily. Right. So it's a funny thing to be dealing with. And again, 22 years old, like that's not an easy task for a 22-year-old to be in his secondary language, communicating with 15 different guys and remembering what all of them are saying about all their pitches and the way they sequence and all these factors. Right.
Yeah. And that just good awareness as a 19-year-old coming into the country is like, a lot of people wouldn't worry about that.
100%. And he's gotten really good. His English is great. I like being able to talk to him. So, yeah.
All right. Last question for you here. One of the things we've been talking about for the past few weeks is obviously with Shane Smith, his innings limit. Peter Baloney's been a big proponent of 6-7 man rotations. Six pitchers, 3 catchers. Get weird with it. Who cares about this season?
Are we going to talk about my 12-man rotation?
Oh yeah, 12-man rotation. Yeah. That's a good point, Johnny.
Different
That's
guy
a
every
good
day,
point.
just rotate him in and out. Yeah.
All of them.
I don't know about the further rotation. I think a 6 could work. I don't think anything beyond 6, you get a little risky with the injuries to arms there. I think that the easier way to do it, I think, is just making it more piggyback roles, right? I think you've got guys in the bullpen who can be more of a piggyback. So if you want to give a guy, kind of like what the Crochet thing at the end of the season last year, if you want to give a guy less inning load and a little bit, keep him a little bit more contained with his innings, let him go 4 innings, have that be his start. He goes through the rotation twice, and that's that, and they move from there. So it's a tricky thing to figure out with innings. I think Shane Smith, like the IL stint, is like, do I really think he's hurt? I don't really think so.
Vacation. It's vacation.
Did he need a reset after throwing more innings than he's ever thrown in his career? Yes. Like I think with Shane Smith it's tricky because like I do think he maybe slightly overperformed at the onset of the season, but then I also think his last handful of starts have been not indicative of who he is as well. So it's somewhere in between, right? I think with him, like you keep it cautious. You take your time with him. You let him have this IL stint for a couple weeks. If he comes back and he throws 4 or 5 innings to start for the rest of the season, great. You let his arm be okay. Don't overdo it. Get into next season, and then come next year, you get a guy that's ramped up in the offseason. He's fully healthy. He's ready to go. He has another season of just getting stronger, and I think he'll still be a very solid rotation piece for sure. I just think it's a lot on a guy being a Rule 5 draft pick, never having thrown many innings, having dealt with some injuries the past couple seasons, to then be an everyday starter, and an everyday starter who early in the season was throwing 6-7 innings, right?
Yeah, because what we're saying with Martin Perez potentially coming back soon, if Hauser's not going to get you the trade value you want, and you're going to keep him, which I would be okay with.
He's gone. He's gone.
Oh, I know there's a good chance of that happening, but we were all saying like, just do the 6-man rotation. Who cares? Get these guys, get these guys some extra rest and everything. So be interesting to see what Getz and team do in the next week. So.
It's definitely going to be interesting. Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating fall. Definitely light years different than last year where we were just dreading the inevitable. Now we have a reason to watch, which is, all we can hope for this early in a rebuild.
It's going to be cool too, because I think you're going to get to see some more young guys. Like I mentioned, all those young relievers who will come up soon enough. And then Hauser's going to be out the door. I think I saw somebody start to talk about the idea of keeping Tauchman, and I that's the one vet I could kind of be sold on keeping, depending on what the market looks like, because I think that you're not going to get appropriate value for his performance given his age. So that's the one thing where it's a trade-off of like, what is a team really willing to pay for a 35-year-old outfielder? I'm not sure. If you get a legit offer, you take it for him. But if you're getting lowballed by teams that don't want to pay for him, I don't hate the idea of keeping him as a veteran guy. I mean, he's under control for next year because he still has one more year of arbitration. So, if you want to keep him for next season as just kind of a veteran presence in the outfield, I would be open to it. I still think he probably gets moved. But then, they're going to try to shop a Taylor. They're going to try to shop a Slater, right? So they're going to try to shop Robert, right? So right now, there's a world where Benintendi gets traded. I don't think he does, but it's possible. So, realistically, your only outfielders penciled in are Benintendi, and then I hope Brooks Baldwin down the stretch here gets as many at-bats as he needs to continue to see what happens. Baldwin's not a guy anybody should be expecting superstar performance from, but I do think he deserves, everyday outfield reps post-trade deadline to get to show, he can at least be a good utility piece come 2026 and beyond. So I'm hoping he gets those at-bats and he takes over those at-bats from Robert, Slater, Tauchman, Taylor, because right now, you've got 6 outfielders in the big league roster, and you gotta, you're going to move at least a couple of them. And then on the pitching side, right, it's Hauser for sure. And then we'll see about the relievers. I do think there'll be a market for a couple of relievers. I think Steven Wilson's a guy you could see they could cash in on potentially. Maybe a couple others, probably not a ton. Dan Altavilla has been sneaky really good. So I think there's a chance somebody picks him up on a, just a kind of a veteran to fill out their bullpen. So there'll be some fun movement, and it's going to lead to even more, just young guys on the way, which I'm all for just the roster getting as young as possible, because that's last few months of a season in which you're probably still going to lose about 100 games. So, yeah.
All right, Elijah, we want to thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. We loved chopping it up and talking Sox and prospects and everything. Before we let you go, please feel free to plug away all your stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for having me. I always like joining the Chicago shows and checking in with people. It's always a blast for me. So yeah, I'm at Elijah EV8 on the Twitter. That's where I do all my White Sox content, all my prospect stuff, and then Just Baseball is my full-time gig these days, which is super cool. And then the Call Up is my prospect podcast over there with Just Baseball, Future Sox podcast. I'm doing a little bit of everything right now for sure. But yeah, it's exciting. I'm very fortunate to be working in the baseball world right now, so it's pretty cool.
Awesome.
I like
Thank you
her
so
real
much.
quick.
Yep.
Real quick. You Mac Miller fan or no?
I am a Mac Miller fan. I'm curious what the craze. I saw those lines. It looked insane. I like Mac Miller. Yeah, I mean, I grew up listening to Mac Miller when he was really big at that time. So I like Mac Miller for sure. I don't know if I would have waited down the street for that, but I do.
Yeah,
like
we're gonna talk about that in a couple
12 hours.
minutes.
People
Yeah.
waiting 12
That's
hours. We're gonna talk
crazy.
about that.
12 hours is nuts for anything. Nonetheless,
Yeah.
a bobblehead.
So
Thank you
all right.
guys, though. I appreciate
Thank you so
it.
much, Elijah.
Of
Have a
course.
great
Thank
evening.
you, man.
Of course, anytime.
Thanks,
Take care.
Elijah.
That is Elijah Evans joining us, talking all things Sox prospects and draft. And we thank him so much for joining us. All right, we got a couple more quick things for the Sox to talk about, and that's this Saturday, guys. Are we ready? Because it's our
I don't think anybody's ready after this this road
road trip.
But we
Oh,
gotta
you guys
be
will
ready.
You guys
We'll
gotta
be ready.
ready.
Yeah,
We're professionals.
Yeah.
this Saturday, Sox Cubs, Whiskey at Comiskey, 3 p.m. in the lot. It's gonna be a shit show because number one, it's your boy's birthday, so extra incentives for doing some shots and bourbon. But we got Michter's whiskey. They're gonna be on site pouring us some good stuff. And I actually got the list of bourbon. And let me say, there's something in there.
Oh, are we teasing it or are you telling me?
Yeah,
Because I don't even know.
There is a special allocated release in there that people get to try on Saturday from Michter's whiskey. It was very, very hard to get. And if you're a big Michter's fan, you don't want to miss it. So come out Saturday. And then we're also debuting Manuscrito Tequila. They're going to be our new tequila people coming through, sampling their new regular Blanco, their high proof Blanco. It's really good additive free tequila. And then what goes good with tequila, guys? Tacos. We're bringing back taco cart for the food. So
Do that again. Do that again.
I don't know. Taco.
I thought you were doing it. Never mind.
Tacos.
Yeah, I thought you were doing something.
Tacos.
Yeah.
So the Will Ferrell.
Yeah, there's also a possibility we're going to be having a couple 2-3 remove other half beers, some new ones, some ones that they've been teasing for a while, and they're ready to show to the world this week. So stay tuned for that. There's a lot happening in the.
There's no excuses. This is no
whiskey.
excuses.
It's something for
a lot
everybody.
of new stuff. Yes, a lot of new stuff.
Allocated whiskey, hot new
Yes.
tequila, hot new beer coming out of Remova Other Half Brewery,
Hot tacos,
and a hot 40-something
Tacos.
year old head Bowman charge birthday.
tacos.
That's right. So just heads up to everyone. Two things. Number one, make sure you RSVP. The tweet is pinned to on our Twitter page, and you can find it on Instagram as well. Helps us keep track for the food costs for this one. Number two, it's looking close to a sellout game on Saturday, so expect like opening day madness. The lines are probably going to be filling up quickly, early. So if you don't want to miss the free Michter's Other Half Manuscrito, get there early. Don't get stuck in the park across I-90 at ITT. Don't get, because there's going to be a lot of angry people with the parking. So get there early and get ready to party, because we got the Plinko boards coming out. Maybe we bring Southpaw beer pong back out. We'll see.
It's definitely going to be. I mean, besides opening day, this is our biggest tailgate of the year. It's also going to be close to 90 degrees out. So make sure while we're drinking your whiskey, your tequila, your beer, we're also going to be drinking some water.
Yes. Got to stay hydrated.
Sunscreen. Also.
Sunscreen. Yeah. You're not tougher than the sun.
No, we got some of that. So thank you to everyone who already RSVP'd, and please make sure you do that as well. All right. Before we got to pay a quick ad, and then we got some more stuff.
It's about that time.
Elite Icons is your number one source for quality and affordable jersey framing. You can trust their products and services to be genuine and of the highest quality, backed by their extensive industry experience. They offer custom jersey framing at the most competitive prices in the nation. Additionally, they host several public and private signings each year, featuring your favorite players. Regardless of the sport or project type, they can frame it. So visit them at eliteicons.biz or call them at 630-863-0647. And also make sure you check out Elite Icons website, because they are doing an Aaron Rowan signing in a couple weeks. I believe it is on August 9th. So make sure you get there, get get Aaron Rowan's autograph if you missed out on the reunion weekend. So he'll be there. Get to this icons.biz/shop.
Complete the collection.
Complete the collection. All right, Peter, what do you got for us this week?
We have to start with this because this blew my mind. Johnny, we talked about it. You were trying your damnedest, and everyone was willing to get the Mac Miller bobblehead for you until we realized what that entailed. So we go to Pittsburgh. We knew it was going to be Mac Miller bobblehead weekend. Beloved Pittsburgh artist. If you guys see here, the bobblehead itself is awesome. The bridge picture is a picture of the line that was to get the bobblehead. And this line started at 6 a.m. My Sox Summer went
a
to
6 o'clock game.
For 6 a.m. for a
6:40 game.
6 p.m. game. And I said, I don't think, part of my ignorance, maybe I'm a little too old. And I knew Mac Miller. We have a couple Mac Miller songs on the Whiskey at Kaminsky playlist. You'll be hearing those on Saturday. I knew of Mac Miller. I know Mac Miller. I didn't know how huge he was to the Pittsburgh community. It was unbelievable. And I'm telling you, young kids, older people, there's no kidding. We walked past a 60-year-old couple standing in line for the bobbleheads, me and Julie, while we were walking the McFadden's. I don't think there is a demand of anything like this that the White Sox or Cubs could do. And I talked to a couple people while we were sitting there at McFadden's. So I got some questions for you guys, but is there someone right now, an artist in Chicago, that either the White Sox or Cubs could make a bobblehead of that would draw this demand? You got to figure the White Sox usually make 7,500 to 10,000 bobbleheads. They used to make 20,000. The Pirates made 20,000 of these bobbleheads. So theoretically, half the people at the stadium got them, but they were long gone way before.
Oops,
what
sorry.
are we doing here? They were long gone way before any of those even got there. So my question, can anybody that is in the White Sox community or Cubs community, artist wise, is there anybody right now that we could draw that type of crowd?
No. I told you, Peter, 20 years ago it would have been Kanye West, but he went off his rocker.
Lost his mind.
So yeah. And we brought up Chance the Rapper. I don't
Maybe
think he's
5 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So I don't think there's any like true Sox fan artists that could, maybe if you did like a Dr. Dre, Snoop in the White Sox hat, maybe that would move.
Yeah, like an Ice Cube and a White Sox hat.
Yeah. But
they're not Chicago artists.
No, they're not. But I don't think there's any like Chicago born Sox fan artists that could draw that for a bobblehead.
Johnny?
Yeah, musician wise right now, no. I mean, what Mac Miller did for like hip hop and the music, I mean, he told a story in each album that he did. I wasn't a big Mac Miller fan until maybe a couple of years ago. One of my buddies, shout out my buddy Jim Crotty, he's the one who's a big time Mac Miller fan, and he got me into it. I was like, what's the infatuation about Mac Miller? What is it that people like, just like, you know, when they listen to his stuff, it's like, you know, I'm like, wow, you're blown away. So I was like, all right, where do I start? Where do I start from this so I could be like, all right, I want to understand where you're coming from with this. And then I started listening to Swimming, Mac Miller Swimming, and I'm like, wow, this is like, I understand where you're coming from. I bought, actually, my buddy, he gave me the NPR sessions that he did a couple years ago before he passed away. I mean, it's only 3 songs long. It's not that long, but if you listen to it, I mean, it's just great. So for the people who are from Pittsburgh and, you know, they've waited all that time for that bobblehead, I can understand why. And especially if you are a fan favorite of his, who does listen to his music, because he did have so many different things that people could relate to in each album. It was different. So I think that's why people could really connect to his music.
Does it help that he was white?
I don't think
because I had this conversation with Herb, and we thought about it, and we didn't come up with an answer, but we thought it being like a Pittsburgh town, and Pittsburgh's a big football town, a big baseball town, but it is predominantly more, Caucasian, and McMillan being white. Does that help? So the only reason I'm asking that is because one of the only sellouts for White Sox year in and year out is Hispanic Heritage Night or Mexican Heritage Night. So I thought, like, if they did do like a Peso Pluma bobblehead, that would probably be close to a sellout. Or if they did like a Vicente Fernandez or even like a Joan Sebastian. Joan Sebastian is a big cultural icon in Mexico. He worked and lived in Pilsen for many years. So I thought if you go that route, the only other real possibility, and it was two that Chirizi gave me, was if they made an Eddie Vedder bobblehead at Cubs games. I think that would sell out for sure. And maybe a Chris Farley. If like they did a Chris Farley bobblehead for Cubs Brewers series or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't think the White Sox have an answer.
No, I don't think there's a magnitude of, and it doesn't matter what race he is. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't think it matters if he's white or whatever. His music was influential. Like I said,
no, I agree.
If you're a Mac Miller fan, you understand and you know why that was a big sought out, like a bobblehead. It's not just a bobblehead. It's just that it represented, the Pittsburgh music scene, what he accomplished. Like, I can't think of any other Pittsburgh, musicians out there. Like
Wiz Khalifa, maybe, but
not
as big. Yeah, not
as big. So, I mean, somebody put it out there on the comments, having like maybe a Pope.
I think that's a no-brainer. A Pope bobblehead would
but
draw.
I'm not sure it would. I just don't know if it's that magnitude that what Mac Miller had, where there was like people lining. I mean, you guys saw it firsthand, and I was seeing some of the videos.
It would be all my tias and all the Catholics lined up on 35th and Shields.
Yeah, but I mean, overall,
it was shocking.
Overall, yes. Overall, I think that's awesome. I wish I was able to, get a bobblehead and stuff like that. I know that it was a hard thing to get. So obviously, I was asking around people, saying like, hey, if you get an extra one, let me know and all that. I'll even pay for it as well too, because I know it was a big like sought out after a bobblehead. But I also know too that it was going to be like a needle in a haystack if you're going to get this or not.
$350 out the door. People were selling them that.
I saw.
Day.
I saw that. I saw that on eBay.
So
yeah.
My question was going to be: out of the 160 people that went in our group, only Aloha Mr. Hand was the only person that got it doing Aloha Mr. Hand connections. I didn't even ask him what he's doing with it. My guess is he's giving it to somebody or selling it. But what would have been the Price is Right high low of what were you willing to pay for it?
I mean, that's something I would have to ask, Mr. Hand. Like, I know it's selling out for a lot. I don't know what he's going to do with it. He might even already get it away. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's why I didn't even ask, because I know Tina got one as well too. I even asked Tina.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know Tina got one.
She got one too, and I asked if she had like an extra one, and she was like, she said if she did get an extra one, she would give it to me. But I said, hey, I'll pay you. Like, I'm not gonna do that, because like I said, I know this is like a sought off after thing. So I don't know, money wise, what I'm saying? Like I love bobbleheads, but I don't know if I would like pay. I'm not gonna pay $300 for a bobblehead. I'm sorry. I love Mac Miller, but not for $300 that much. Yeah.
We did the autograph signing show 05 reunion. We weren't able to make it to the game for the 4 starter bobbleheads. I know you wanted that. Is there a realistic limit of what you would pay for something like that?
$50.
$50. I think for a bobble, like really like rare.
I would say that too. I would
maybe
pay like
60.
50. Yeah, that was like my number. Even I would go 80 for that Mac Miller bobblehead.
Yeah. Honestly, I wanted to talk about it only because I talked to so many people at McFadden, and a lot of people were like me. We just didn't know how big it was going to be. It was shocking.
There's two crazy. Number one, the people who were waiting in line since like 6-7 in the morning, they were, and the ones that were on the bridge. for people who weren't there, Saturday was insanely hot.
Yeah, they're like 90-degree weather.
And you're standing on that bridge is not covered. So people are standing on the bridge, no umbrellas, nothing, no shade, and they're just baking right where the water is, waiting for fucking 12 hours to get a bobblehead. I don't know if skin cancer is worth it that much to get a bobblehead, but those people were nuts.
What's cool about the bridge is for game days, they close it off. It's pedestrian only. So you're able to walk back and forth. We walked from our hotel to the game easy, no traffic, nothing, because it's closed off. But people were standing on the sidewalk part of the bridge, just waiting and waiting. And there's vendors there. There's people selling Gatorades and water. And we were watching the news after we had came back. There was a vendor of water that said he sold 24 cases of water. You got to think that's either the 24 or sometimes the bigger cases that have 28 or 32 bottles of water. He probably sold like $700 worth of water that day.
Yeah. And so late night, me and Peter, we went for some late night and the wives. We went for some late night pizza slices, and there was a table, 3 girls sitting in the pizzeria, and they had 5 or 6 of the bobbleheads.
Yeah,
and I
like
went up there, I said,
it's
like, hey, are you selling those? Are you keeping them? And she's like, how much you willing to offer? And Peter immediately jumped in. He's like, $100. And she said no.
I just wanted to test them. I wasn't going to pay that money. I was trying to buy pizza. But it was late night. It was 2:00. Well, close to 2 a.m. Maybe like, what was it? Like 2 a.m.?
Like 1.
1 a.m.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe this is a late night deal. I could get it for cheap. So I was trying for you, Johnny. I was like, let me see if I could get. I was gonna say like, let me pay for your pizza, and maybe they say yes. They had 6 of them. They're smart. They were business women. They did not bite. So yeah, I was.
Well, no, they are probably business women because they're probably.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They are. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, they're business women. Yeah.
All right. What else? What's next, Peter?
All right, so this I saw while we were in Pittsburgh, and I need Missy's in the comments, and Johnny is in. I need your guys' opinion on this because this is something I've been trying to do for the better part of like 2-3 years now. So minor league promotions.
I think she's calling right now.
Calling soon-to-be married couples. Let's make your special day unforgettable. August 9th is Bill Veeck night at the White, or as my guy Schriffen says, Bill Veeck night at Sox Park. To honor the promo Godfather, one lucky couple will win a real 60-second on-the-field wedding during the game. Click here to enter. So someone is raffling off a wedding on the field for a Sox game. And I'm pissed because this was been on my idea. It's been out there on the internet. I am an ordained minister, Reverend Baloney Fonseca. I've been trying to wed people in Lot B since we started this tailgate. I want to throw a Lot B wedding. Johnny, you seem hesitant, but I think Missy's in.
Missy's in. She signed us up for this thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, she did the whole thing. And
did she enter?
Yes, she did. She entered the whole thing.
Yes.
No.
Yes, she entered the whole thing, and she told me, I was like, did you enter this? She showed me the whole thing. And then I asked her, like, well, what else did you say? She sent the picture of us, and then also she wrote like a paragraph of what like details of all this stuff. There's a possibility we could probably win this thing.
Now yes! I'm gonna be
shotgun wedding. I love it. Shotgun wedding on the field. This is awesome. I fucking love it.
If it's not in Lot B, I'm ruining that wedding. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna be the salty person in the movies that like says if anybody objects, and it's gonna be me saying this can't happen on the field. It's got to happen at the tailgate lot.
Now, okay, so it's one couple 1 minute. So it's got to be like Vegas wedding style, right? Like, do you?
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. Yeah,
it's not romantic at all. Let us throw you a romantic Lot B wedding.
But think that maybe the Sox will spring for some fireworks too. So you Johnny, you marry Missy, you give her the kiss, and then poo, poo, poo.
That's actually a great idea, Jason. They're not hitting any home runs anyway. They got spare fireworks to spare.
Yeah.
Johnny, are you in?
Let's go. I love it. Like we gotta make this. Think of how much content we can.
I mean, she already.
Yeah, you're not the
literally
boss.
Legit entered us in.
You're not the boss in this. You have no say in this matter. It's all Missy, and I think
Yeah, if you
I'm not the boss of
get
it.
selected, if you
Yeah.
get selected, you don't have a choice. You got to marry her. You won, man. You got to do this for the content.
All right.
And
You know what? I'm putting my hand up.
Do I
See, now I'm a man of reason. If I don't get to marry you guys in Lot B and you guys do win this raffle Saturday, August 9th, the concession I'll make is you guys get married on the field, but you got to be wearing Chicago Sports Bums gear. Is that a fair gear? Is that a fair assessment?
I always put stuff. I always like anytime.
Yeah, but I don't know if you want to go in a tuxedo or something, and we might have to print out a Bums
I'm not
tuxedo
going in
with
no
logos
fucking
everywhere.
I'm not going in no tuxedo.
All right,
This is
Bums
a
gear.
minute. I don't know what she. I didn't think that she was like she brought it to my attention. Did not realize that she actually did sign us up. So this is a legit thing. She did sign us up. So I mean, I don't know if we're gonna win or not, but I'm not coming in a tuxedo.
Missy, I know you're in the comments. Instead of coming out to Here Comes the Bride, you need to come out to Missy Elliott's 1 Minute Man. Oh, I
that's
don't want no
rude.
minute man. I can't have no minute man. Yeah.
Let's go on to the next segment,
All right.
please.
So you know what? We're gonna wrap up. We're gonna keep it all baseball on this podcast for today. We did have some Bears talk, but the Bears talk is minimal, and they're starting training camp next week. So I'm gonna tell you guys right now, we're going Bears heavy from here on out. We are still gonna talk White Sox, but it's gonna be more of a 50-50 split. We were gonna talk WNBA, but as Aaron pointed out in a tweet earlier, that we did not even consult her to talk WNBA. And I think there's a good concession to be made. Maybe I do a quick 20-minute video with Sandra and Aaron talking WNBA, and we put it on the YouTube bit. Because nobody wants to hear us talk about me bounds and Caitlin Clark t-shirts and stuff like that. Maybe we do get Aaron on board for this. So I got one last baseball question for you. It's something that was the All-Star game was the day after we recorded. So it's been almost a week, but I really liked it. It was the home run derby overtime. People feel like it was
an All-Star game, extra innings.
Yes. What did I say?
You said home run derby.
Well, it was the extra innings All-Star game overtime home run derby.
Yes.
Is this how they should be deciding baseball games going forward?
Yes. I was 100% in it. Now, I know there's a lot of people who say, like, fuck that, it's stupid. Don't do it. I heard a lot of the sports media talking heads on it. But I said repeatedly, I fucking hate the ghost runner rule. I'd rather have a full regular inning of baseball extra innings than this stupid ghost runner that it makes no sense. So let's do it like soccer and hockey, shootout style, home run derby style. The only thing that apparently with the home run derby the swing off was that all those guys were already 30,000 feet in the air, the Otanis and the Judges and Cal Rallies. They were so bum of the week for Rob Manfred for letting the guys leave early, so you couldn't do that. But if you're going to do the swing off, then MLB needs to change the rule that once the guy comes out, he can come back in.
No, I like it that once you're out, you're out. That's how it works in penalty kicks.
You should be able to come back. You should be able to come back in for the home. That's my take.
Once you're out, it's like penalty kicks in soccer. Once you're out of the game, you can't take the penalty kick. So I like that they kept it to the people that were on the field. But I also thought I think everyone's in agreement. Get rid of the ghost runner. The ghost runner makes no sense. Nobody cares about the ghost runner. It's gimmicky and we don't like it. But if you want to go gimmicky, go full gimmicky. So my concession is play one extra inning of regular baseball. And if
Sam says 12, but I think I could get by with one regular inning.
One regular inning of extra baseball. And then after that, you go to the swing off. Because imagine being at a Friday or Saturday White Sox game and you win off a home run derby swing off. That would be electric. The fireworks, everything else. If you're going to make a random ghost runner rule, you might as well make it fun for the fans. Everyone's talking about Savannah Bananas and this and that. It's like, obviously you don't want to go full circus act with it, but I think this is a fair concession that you could probably make, and it makes sense. Like you mentioned, Jay, that you do shootouts in hockey, you do penalty kicks in soccer. This is a good way to do it.
So my whole thing is this is fine with me. And if it's a regular season thing moving forward, I'm okay with it. But in the playoffs,
Oh no, playoffs is regular baseball.
it's different. You
regular baseball.
gotta go in extra innings.
Yes,
Because that's you can't decide it off of that. Like,
agreed.
I know that maybe there'll be a lot of people, especially like traditional like baseball fans, who be like, "What the fuck are you doing? You're changing the game and this and that?" I'm like, if you're robbing, you're trying to bring more people in. I think that's an interesting, like, hey, you're changing things around. Hockey did it. Hockey changed things around where, it used to be, it used to be ties, it used to be over, like, but now, like, there has to be a winner. So I think doing something like this, and the Ghost Runner thing, it just didn't work. I can understand it from the COVID era point, but I just think if you did something like that, yes, I think it'll be a little bit more excitement. The problem is that you might not have a home run hitter in your team. So, like, that's the thing that maybe there might be a pushback, especially with all these like new like agreements that are coming in.
CBAs,
the CBAs and all that. So I don't know if that's something that they would talk about, but I wouldn't mind it. I just don't touch the playoffs. That's the only thing that I just wouldn't want them.
I think everyone's like, it's sudden death overtime until last man standing, 3, 4, 5, 6 overtimes. Who cares?
I'm okay with it. Yeah.
You want to go 17, 18 innings? Let's get nuts.
The argument to be made is like you save players' arms too, right? Like if you want to talk about like saving, healthy pitchers and stuff, you're not going deep into your bullpen longer into games. You go 10 innings max, and then you start swinging some bats. JT is asking, NBA going to have a 3-point contest to end OT? Nobody cares about the NBA, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And Sox are up 8-3. We're going to win top of the ninth. We're going to win 4 in a row, guys. We have a winning streak. We have a big winning streak.
Plesac Polo is doing wonders.
Is it Plesac Polo just stinking up the joints? Shriffin's going to have to wear like a gas mask by the time this road trip ends.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right. Is that all for headlines, Peter?
That is all for headlines. We're going to bum some people.
All right, let's do it.
I think he's a bum. I think he's an absolute bum.
You call me a bum? My man, I take that with pride, with honor, that I'm a bum. I'm the king of the bums, baby.
Because you're training like a damn bum, you know that? Bum. A bum.
Bum.
All right, let's get to our listener bums and MVBs first. And, having technical difficulties here with the.
You got it?
There we go. All right. Bum of the week. First, Aaron the intern. Bum of the week. Me for almost dying, apparently. And we want to say, Aaron, get well soon. Okay. You had a scare there. I'm not going to have any HIPAA violations coming.
Yeah, HIPAA violations. It's not our business to share, but it was a scary. When we got that, I got that text. Sandra, my sister, for people don't know, it's text me. And then I shared with the group. I wanted to make sure everyone sent their well wishes to Aaron, but that was a very scary situation. So I'm glad that she's doing better. And I also checked up. I'm glad that Sandra is actually taking care of her, because I said, is Sandra taking care of you? I gotta have to whip her into shape. But nope.
Yeah.
Good job. Good job by everybody.
Yeah. Get well soon, Aaron. Good to see you're doing better. MVB, everybody that checked on me and told me to go to the doctor. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to just do it.
Sometimes you got to listen to your body.
Sometimes, like, I'm very stubborn of like, I'll be fine, or I'll, sleep it off, but sometimes you just got to grin up and get your shit checked.
Yep. Steph, MVB, Aaron, happy seeing she's getting better. Yay. No bum in the week. Jose and Taco live to see another week. You know what? I don't know if Taco's listening, but I am gonna early bum of the week Taco, because he said he's deleting his social media for mental health, and I say fuck that. I need Duke's content. So
yeah, what do you mean? Was he serious, or is he being a joke? I
don't know. But I don't know. I saw this morning that end of business day he was deleting his social media, and I need Duke's content, man. Like I'm pro mental health, but also fuck your mental health. I need Duke's content.
So that's where I was gonna side with you, Jay. Anyone else? I agree. Like, take time off. We're all clinically online. A lot of times you gotta block out the noise. But whenever Taco's involved, I don't know if he's serious. I don't know if he's lying. I don't know if he's joking. I have a feeling this is some sort of long bit, like the ketchup thing. So for that, I say, no, you stay online and give us the Duke's content. For people that don't know, Duke is his pet raccoon.
And he's adorable.
Yeah.
All right, next up, we got Jose, MVP, Southpaw and Slugger for the assist on Taco birthday gift. Yeah, they got Slugger to Taco is a big birthday. I'm sorry, he's a big Royals fan. And Southpaw was able to get Slugger to give him a happy birthday and a Pepsi or Coke pack.
Rhoda saying he's not deleting it. He's hiding it underneath of a traffic barrel. That is a great comment.
Bum of the week, me for missing the road trip, and Dougie's birthday got major FOMO.
Yeah, so that's something I will say. Maybe we'll tease it. I mean, Josh is already out there. If it's a weekend, Milwaukee next year, and then the possibility of Toronto, Detroit, or St. Louis. If you did have FOMO from this road trip, just put on alerts for Sox Machine, Josh, or anything else, because they're just gonna keep getting funner and better.
All right, Taco's in the comments. If you just missed it, yeah, you can't delete your social media. I need Duke's content.
Yeah, you can't delete. He's back on social media now. He's on YouTube. That counts. Welcome back. It was a quick 12 hours.
Duke's content.
Thank you.
Oakland Tech from Rich. MVB, all the 108ing road trip attendees spreading the great content, making everyone who is back at home ready for next year. FOMO sucks. MVB, Burbank Americans BB, who had to beat Iowa twice on Thursday and now headed to the Senior League Baseball World Series in South Carolina. Awesome. Bum of the week, many miles driven the past few weeks, and it seems like rules no longer exist, but the people who use the shoulder like an express lane. It happens. It happens a lot here on 55 when I'm going to the city, like on a Friday or Saturday night. People just fly down that shoulder, and my first thought is, where are the cops on this one? Because if that was me, I'm getting pulled over immediately.
I-55 is the Wild West nowadays. It's been crazy. But yeah, as someone who just drove 8 hours in one direction and then the other, it's crazy.
That's everywhere.
Yeah.
Joey P, bum of the week. Indiana, Ohio expressways, very boring and repetitive travel rest stops. Not one taco stand. Can't give us one. Well, hold on that, because Peter, you want to
we'll talk about more about the Indiana, Ohio expressways.
Yeah. MVB, everyone who showed up and showed out for the 108ing road trip. Round of applause for everyone involved. Yes, thank you. King Ass, bum of the week. Indiana Toll Road. Yep. MVB, DeBella subs for curing my hunger in Pittsburgh twice. I got a Permanente sandwich, and that cured everything.
I know. Now I got a feeling I got to try DeBellas now next time I'm in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
sounds good.
A big Permanentes guy. Shout out Permanente brothers.
Yeah.
Sammy Davis Jr. 5,000. Most valuable boyo, Mr. Beefos I. He was rocking the shades for a while
Johnny,
that week.
You had the tweet out there. Maybe that's the lucky charm. Maybe it's not Plesex Polo. We don't know.
I try to help him out. You know, I said I've had like 6 surgeries of sty, so I know better than probably almost everybody. So, but he says he knows how to take care of it. So
it's getting better. It's getting better.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right, from the Love family, bum of the week, Turnpike Toll Road Sug, and me, Free Feet Friday, got all the wives going right. Now hold on a second. I can't help it if I have, number one, if I have immaculate feet. Number two, if people want to see them. That's a bum of the week me. I'm just giving the people what they want.
It is bum of the week you. And I'll tell you why, Jason. We fancy ourselves businessmen, shrewd businessmen. You cannot be giving out the feet for free, especially when you're looking for casinos, sugar daddies. You could have made an easy $50 right there. Not only that, but you buried the lead. You got a very nice flip-flop tan line. Now I don't condone flip-flops, but I know tan line gets the people going too. There's a market for that. So now you got a market for feet and you got a market for tan lines. And you were just showing them off willy-nilly like a lady of the night.
You know what? Maybe that is bum of the week me for not charging. Maybe get like a free sample, free peek, and then then start charging.
Even if it's not money, you could have got a couple 2 free drinks. People were asking to see those feet.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I got to start an Only Feets, man.
What the hell are we talking about?
Jason's feet. once again.
Ugh. Okay.
No. Those are
Jason's feet are for the streets, apparently.
Yeah, call Jersey Jerry, man.
Feet the
I'll
streets.
smoke all those women in Feet the Streets. MVPs, Josh Bums 108. Cannot thank you all enough. Start to finish, incredible event. His MVP 2.0 was Treasy. His kindness had us cut an onion Sunday. Saturday, closing out the weekend, saying goodbyes and happy birthday, Dougie. Treasy says, hey, again, congratulations on your son. My son crushed a tryout for a team he had to level up to make, and he did it. Oh,
There's
got
more.
more. Oh, okay.
It's a two-bagger for the love family.
Treasy pulled that out, remembering my drunken ramblings from earlier when I got the call. Trapper had made the team. Wow, that was incredible. Such great people. Thanks again for a great weekend. Pretty sure I pulverized my liver. Yep, we all did. And then hashtag heartfelt. That hit my wife and I both right in the feels. We are new and probably nerds, but we are brought in like family, and that is so very much appreciated. That is White Sox Twitter. That is the community.
We're welcoming over here.
I had a note to be made because he had the tweet out there when they arrived. He was like introducing himself. So it's Travis and Danae Love, the Love family. They could have not been the nicer people. And that's what it's all about, right? It's building a community, but it's all like one big happy family. And literally the Love family is now part of that family. We drank with them multiple times, both at the, what is it, Joe's Bar or Mike's Bar?
Mike's.
And then Southern Tier. Awesome time with them. Hopefully he's not just a stranger. We'll see him at a tailgate or another road trip or anything like that. It was awesome.
Yeah. And then finally he says to you, my bum MVP extended screen needed to be said, but obviously doesn't need to be read. Oh, then I guess I should be read. But
yeah, you don't have to read it.
I'm still high. I got way too long-winded. All right, there we go. Thanks, guys.
Lord of the Rings type story from my man Travis.
Yeah. Matt Crawford's doppelganger. Cindy Brown, my MVPs. Bums, Josh from the 108 for pulling off a great event. Schifrin and Dan Plesek for a great broadcast and giving White Sox Twitter friends some love. And from Maddie Fresh as well. She got a shout out too, I guess. She got another shout out today, I guess I heard on the tweets. RIP actor Malcolm Jamal Warner, true pioneer. Yeah, RIP to him. He passed away earlier this afternoon.
Deal, man.
Young, right? 54?
Yeah, 54 years old.
He drowned.
That sucks. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he said he drowned. I don't know the whole story, what happened, but I just heard it was a drowning.
That's sad. You know what? While we're at the RIP state portion of the show, it happened right after the BumCast last week. Harry Tynowitz too. Harry Tynowitz was a staple of us, like growing up, like Matt Yurko and Harry, and I've been a long time WMVP or now ESPN 1000 guy. His schedule releases was like I put alerts on for his tweets because he would spoil the Bears schedule every year like clockwork. Harry was awesome. I met him a couple times at a couple different remotes, and like everyone else that talked about it, like just friendly with everyone, like just the life of the party. So yeah, also RIP Harry Tynowitz.
Yes. Next, Mailman Jack M. Vaughnable B. Andrew Vaughn. The Brewers haven't lost a game since bringing him up and are currently tied for first in the set. I don't know if that's an MVP. That's a bum.
Yeah.
Bum.
Yeah.
Bum.
Yeah.
Should have brought that to the White Sox. Bum of the week, another way too early death in Hollywood. RIP Malcolm Jamal Warner. Yep. Yes, RIP. There was a late one mid pod from our boy Brett Hafner. He said MVP, the stench of winning. Bum of the week, FOMO from afar.
Happens. That happens.
Yes. All right. And Road Dogg just said Sox win 8-3.
There we go.
Yeah.
4 games,
like
baby.
we mentioned.
Four
games. It's 4
best-
road
We're
games.
shrinking. We're shrinking.
Best baseball team post All-Star break. You can book that one too.
4-0.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get to our bums and MVPs. Johnny, kick us off.
Yeah, I don't have well, I mean MVPs, like I saw I was having major FOMO for not going to Pittsburgh. I've been to Pittsburgh just once. Shout out my cousin John, who's bums in the bleachers. I love Pittsburgh. I think it's a great city. I love everything about it, and you guys killed it. Everything, I saw the pictures and meeting everybody. So, MVP, you guys, I couldn't make it, so I'm sorry, but like it just seemed like a very good time, and like I said, I had major FOMO not going. So shout out to you guys, Josh and the 108 guys, and obviously us for putting all everything together. So but my bum is Bill Goldberg. I'm going to talk a little bit wrestling over here, so
Yeah.
I might lose a lot of some of
No,
you
bury
people
that
over here.
motherfucker. Bury him, Johnny.
But Bill Goldberg had a very pretty decent career. I would say pretty good career. He's a Hall of Famer and all that. So he was part of that WWF, WCW wars back in the day, those Monday Night Wars and all that. He had his last match a couple of weeks ago at Saturday Night Main Event, and he got cut off out of it. Was his last match, his very last match against Gunther, and he lost. And time constraints cut off his speech. He had a speech, and they maybe only had like a minute or two of his speech, and they cut it off, and he had like 12 more minutes left. And he went on he went on record saying that he felt like it was like a disrespect and all that, and whatever the case may be. Dude, like they could have figured out a different way to do this, maybe on a pay-per-view or anything like that. But why is it like for you? It had like I'm finally getting what Bret Hart said a long time ago about you, and you're a crybaby. You're definitely a crybaby. You definitely are very bad at even working as a wrestler as well too, because you injured poor Little Nate as well too. I don't know if you heard that. Yeah, he broke his ribs. So I mean, the fact that he's hurt people in the past, the fact that he would from several other great wrestlers like William Regal had to teach him a lesson one time in the ring for just not like selling stuff. It's just I mean, you had a pretty good career. Like I said, you had a Hall of Famer, you had that streak and all that, but you're crying over something that you shouldn't be crying about. To me, I think like if you wanted to have a one last match, why don't you have it in a pay-per-view type of match, not Saturday Night Main Event where they're going to cut you off. Like you should know better. You know what I'm saying? Like that's network TV. They don't give a fuck if you're going to be talking for 12 minutes. They're going to cut you off regardless. So I just think it's a little bit of a crybaby move off of his part. I wasn't a really big Goldberg fan. I just thought that, he did pretty well in WCW. But to me, for him to have to I have to have this last match and all that.
Yeah, it's all look at me. Look at me.
Yeah, look at me. Like he has to have one last spotlight, and it has to be during a WWE championship matches too. Why do you have to do that? You should have picked somebody else who, I'm not saying Gunther is not the right person to do it, but what I'm saying is that I think that he could have done this a lot better, where if he wanted to say a speech or whatever, it could have been done a lot better. And you're just crying and bitching about all this stuff. And it's just all about you, man. So like, to me, you're just a bum. You're just a complete bum. Now I totally get why Bret Hart fucking hates you.
Yeah. And it just ruins his legacy or whatever you want to call it. Even though I was never a big fan.
All right, Peter, you're up, because we got a lot of bums for that our listeners were tweeting about. So
yeah, so I'll just piggyback on that. My bum of the week is the easy pass system that Ohio and Indiana have implemented. It's just outdated and it's stuck in the 80s and maybe early 90s, but just make everything open road tolling. And if you have to ticket people and send it in the mail, do it that way, because the fact that you have a iPass or Easy Pass, but you still have like the gates, the gates and the lines that take forever. I was stuck on a toll waiting for the fucking gates to go up, just waiting for people to go in line. Maybe 15 minutes. Like all of the time that I made driving, and I was booking it. Shout out to the guys at Barstool Chicago. They push Chevy Drive Chicago all the time. They gave us a Chevy rental It was a Trailblazer RS. And I'm like, whatever. It's an SUV. That thing cooked. I was booking it down the highway, and I was making great time all the time. And then to get stuck behind tolls, and you have to wait. There's no rhyme or reason. You could pick one, and it could be the slowest one or the fastest one. And people don't know what to do with their credit cards. And some people do have Easy Pass, and some don't. It's a waste of fucking time. It's 2025. Just get fucking open road tolling. Like, it's not that hard. I don't get it. So it sucked. And as much as we bitch about, Illinois and government and everything else, like, at least they're just cooking, dude. I fly by Illinois tolls. You don't have to worry about anything. And I know a lot of people that made the trip were complaining about the same thing. So bum of the week. And it's that it's going to be high on my list this year for the tournament of bums, because I feel like there's a lot of people with my same sentiment. But all that being said, and all that negativity being said, we made it home safe. Everybody made it home safe. Dougie's safe. Joey P's safe. Everyone's safe. The weekend itself was unbelievable. I don't think it could have gone any better, from the hotel to all of the places that we went to. Not only McFadden's and their establishments and the people there, but also Mike's Beer Bar. And then Southern Tier Brewing. That was our late night after Saturday night. We got there was big picnic tables. We're like, can we get one? Then can we get another? And there was I was like, we got more people coming. They couldn't have been more hospitable. They made everyone, like, they didn't complain about, like, oh no, you can't sit here, you can't do that. The weekend itself, not only the wins, but it just couldn't have gone any better. It just makes me and us just so much more that excited for next year, right? We talked about Minnesota or Minneapolis, or Milwaukee, and the possibility of Toronto, Detroit, or St. Louis. I'm in for all of it. So thank you to everyone involved, but most importantly, thank you to everyone to make the trek. 160 people. That's a shit ton of people that hung out and enjoyed bad baseball. 2 bad baseball teams. It was a great outcome, but made it there and enjoyed ourselves.
Yep. All right. I'm going to take us home here. Going to start off with my bums. First bum is the person who designed the room in my hotel room, because the bathroom, the toilet roll dispenser was behind it on the wall.
Oh, those are the worst. Makes no sense.
What are we doing here, folks? The toilet paper dispenser is behind the toilet. What do you expect me to do? I'm going to pull fat. I'm going to pull an oblique. Something's going to happen when I'm trying to reach for this shit.
Yeah.
Right? Literally, when there's a wall right in front of you where I could go bloop, 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 bloop. I don't have to do anything.
Wait, time out. Are you a blooper, or you're not just a puller?
I'm a little bit of both.
New information.
How come at that point you just didn't take it out of the
that's
thing?
true.
After the first time
After
doing
the
this,
first
I said fuck this. I grabbed it out, and then there I'm doing the manual.
Yeah, that's the most efficient way. Julie yells at me because I always have the toilet paper out of the roll. That's the efficient way to do it. Is just get it going. Manual wind, if you will.
Bum of the week who installed the dispenser behind you instead of right in front of you. That
makes no
aesthetics, sense. Man. Come on, dumbasses. My second bum of the week is I'm calling out. I'm naming names. It's Advantage Acura of Naperville. Me and the wife got totally scammed by their maintenance department the other week. I have the free 2 years of
maintenance
oil changes from oil changes for my car. So I take my car in to get the oil changed, and as I'm there, I asked the guy, because my wife's car, she needs her AC charged. It's blowing warm air, and I'm like, it's too hot out right now. We need to get it changed, and we need to get that charged. So I said, how much to charge, the AC? And the guy's like, looks it up. He's like, that it's going to be $490. I'm like, fuck, it sucks. Whatever, we'll pay for it. We'll get it done. Can't have her driving around that's crazy heat. Take the car back, and a couple days later, drop it off. Good. They call us, and they say, "Oh yeah, so turns out that $490 that was just for the test to get it. Now, if you want to get it charged, it's an extra $400, so it's going to be $950 for us to charge it." And I was like,
they do that at AutoZone for free.
I was like, what the fuck? Like, no one told me that the test alone was going to be when I said AC charging, you said $490. That's what I expected to pay. But they got you. They already got your car back there. It's up on the fucking lift, right? So
yeah, what are you gonna say? No.
Yeah, okay. No, take it down. Like I'm gonna go take it somewhere else. I'm already at that point. I'm already out $450. So big fucking scam by Advantage Acura Naperville. Have upfront pricing. Say what it's gonna be when you ask for the quote. Like that, complete bullshit. So we got basically charged double for an AC charge. I should have taken it to Midas, or one of those other places and had them done for probably the same price, and I wouldn't have gotten fucking screwed by that.
That's crazy. Well, one, yeah, like I said, if you buy the coolant, AutoZone like literally does it for free as I used to. Two, I feel like your car's too new to be needing a recharge.
Hers is 2020.
Yeah, that's still
okay. That's still fairly new because the only time now that we're going inside baseball, only time AC coolants need recharge is if it's leaking. So there's got to be something else.
She probably had a leak with it, but then
right,
that's not what they quote. That's not what they told us. So, yeah, bum of the week. So, all right, and then so finally closing out the show with my MVP, and it's just huge shout out to Josh and Sox Machine. They put on a great event. I don't think we could have done that. We do the tailgates, but the road show, Josh got that down. He did a fucking awesome job of doing that. The 108 guys did a great job, just being co-hosts and doing everything, and can't thank them enough. Obviously, everyone who was great at the hotels, McFadden's, the bartender, she was in the weeds for a bit because they apparently when that party started, they had one bartender for 160 people, and everyone wanted a drink at 4 o'clock.
Right at the beginning.
Wow.
Yeah, and
so
she kicked ass. Like she did not stop until she got extra help. So I mean, we tipped. I know the 108 guys tipped her well. I tipped her well. Hopefully, everyone else tipped her well because she was working her ass off, but didn't complain. She could have been like, "Fuck this, you guys are crazy."
Yeah. So so shout out to everyone at McFadden's for welcoming us and having us a great event. Usually when you go into enemy territory and you take over a bar, there could be some drunk idiots, and for the most part, Pittsburgh fans were just buying their own business, accommodating, not really, like Packers or Philly people or anything like that. But we can't thank Josh enough for letting us be a part of this, and we're hoping, it's Milwaukee, so we can actually do like a big tailgate, next year.
I want Milwaukee no rain. I'm putting that out there, praying to all the gods, knocking on wood, do whatever you have to do. I want to redo because the Milwaukee tailgate was awesome. But like, I want no rain and see what we can do there.
Yep. So thank you everyone, and thanks to everyone who joined. It was great. And also want to thank our guest Elijah Evans from Just Baseball and Future Sox for joining us for 45 minutes for talking all things prospects. That was great chopping up with him. And then training camp starts next week, guys. So we're gonna be talking some Bears. I might have to table the farm report for the training camp report.
Yeah, I think so. I like you. Now you got to make a new graphic.
Mini camp.
We'll have to take a new graphic. Yeah.
Mini camp, mini straw.
Yeah. All right. Thanks everyone. Have a great week, and we will see you on Saturday for Whiskey at Comiskey.
Hell yeah.